Christine, it is so hard to believe. So Christine was one of my very first speakers at, I think, maybe the first presentation I did back in 2019 where there was, 6 people in the room, 8 people in the room, or whatever it was. So time flies, and I'm blessed to have her back. So let's start by giving the audience some context of how you came to be the director at Northview Seniors and how you have grown that organization.
So first of all, how many Northview seniors do I have? Because I saw a lot of friendly faces. So one said this and me, but hopefully I've got support from everybody else. And then I do even have a few We Travelers from my side business who has traveled with me before with We Travel. So there's about a half a dozen of you as well. So this July, I'll be in my position for 16 years as the director of Northview Seniors. I inherited a very small program that was well run and well respected, but because of my experience in the past, I started trip directing 23 years ago, and back then I was considered young. So what happened was I'm on my very first trip. They're with seniors, right? And I'm realizing they're just older than me. So we have the same interests, we have the same passion, but they're just older than me. I was told I can no longer say that now after all these years. But my approach is lifelong learning and engagement. Yes, we do have some aging-related programs, but it's really on learning and engagement. So what sets us apart is really our programming. And we also have 2 generations of senior citizens. So we are a center where everyone lives in their own homes and they come to me for programming. But very few senior centers have 2 generations of seniors. They have 1, and they're typically the older set. So we have people from 60 to 95, 96 years old participating. They come from as far north as Canadian Lakes, Ionia, Byron Center, and the Lakeshore and everything in between. And we're really all about building relationships. That is very important. We are known for our motor coach trips. I run about 25 coaches a year, all day trips in Michigan, Toledo, Chicago, a little bit outside. We also own a 29-passenger minibus. For first of all, the motor coach trip, 2 of them coming up is to Port Huron, and another one is the Underground Railroad in Southwest Michigan. Our minibus trips, we offer fun things like a restaurant hop, which is a progressive meal, but also some educational destinations too. We have a lecture series with about 200 to 300 people plus that we hold. We have Judge Sarah Smolinski coming, and we also have a gentleman who's talking about 101 things that happened on the Mackinac Bridge. We have craft classes and all kinds of learning opportunities. We also have luncheons, bingos, exercise classes, weekly programs, and more. So that is a pretty wide range of what has transpired. I'm pretty much open to anything when it comes to programming. So I get a lot of suggestions from our members. I do a lot of research. That's the fun part of my job. And it's just grown organically. We don't advertise. I do have newsletters here if anyone is interested in grabbing one. But it has been just very fulfilling.
That is awesome. And I feel like the wide variety of everything that you offer is just wonderful because we have such a wide variety of personalities in this room. And like you say, multiple ages. You don't have to be, and to me, I'm in my 50s and I love the programs that I've attended. They are so, so fascinating and all the things. And one of the things that I've noticed anytime that I've attended anything with Northview Seniors is that your position there is much more than just a job and that you really know the people that come through your door. You greet them by name. It's a camaraderie and more than just a senior center. So let's just talk about that and that idea of really building this camaraderie of people around you through Northview Seniors or anything else you might be involved in.
So as I said, it's really about relationship building. So I have a relationship with a lot of my senior citizens. I do know them by name. I do know a lot about them. Some I know a lot about them, depending on who it is. But I also empower my staff. It is more than just a job for them as well. They have a heart for the organization, as I do. Somebody who had just retired but who started 10 years ago said, my grandparents were very elderly, even whatever age they were. She said, when I took this job, I didn't understand the vibrancy that can be for senior citizens. So she, grew to love and enjoy our members as well. I also really empower volunteers, and their mission is, if they're a volunteer ambassador, they are the face of the program and greeting people. I might not be there, but they are there every single week. So that person, that volunteer, building their relationships with our members is important. And also our instructors. We have cardio drumming, stretch and flex, wood carving, all kinds of activities, and the people there are empowered to be welcoming and gracious to the people who are attending as well. And that is, especially with the volunteers, there is a protectiveness and a pride in the organization. And so it's the word of mouth, spreading the news about Northview seniors that has really created a lot of growth in the past 16 years.
Wonderful. And I think that idea of just really being known by others and being greeted by name is so important, and especially for anyone who has had the support of a spouse for many years and then may not have that all of a sudden. The idea that other people are really seeing you is critical, and seeing you every day and looking for how you're feeling. So working with the older population is so rewarding, but one of the things that I find most challenging is watching them experience challenges, and including this idea of late life divorce, or especially the death of a spouse. So many of my clients face really significant health challenges or the loss of a spouse. Many of them are looking for my services, not necessarily because they're excited to move, but because they feel that they need to, or it makes sense. And that can be really tough. And so how have you helped people walk through that stage of life, especially if they are finding themselves single unexpectedly?
So to me, single is all of that plus more, because I have two sisters who did everything together. They traveled, they spent time every day, and because of one's health and mobility is now in an assisted living and cannot do things on an everyday basis. So although she's been widowed for years, it's really the loss of her sister, who was her daily companion as well. And I work with, we have a lot of people who have moved. They've moved to the area because their kids and their grandkids are here. And what has happened is they move here because of that, and then guess what? They're busy. And now they've left their church, their neighborhood, their friends, their base, even the people in the store who greet them that they went to every week for years. And now they're here, which is a lovely city, and their kids and grandkids are busy. And now they're like, oh my gosh, I need to be building up my friendship base all over again. So for some people, it's very hard to walk in the door, and I understand that. It is very difficult to walk in the door. For others, coming in is no big deal at all. But whatever the needs are, we try to be there. And if I have a heads up that somebody is new coming in, I'm going to try to seat you next to someone who is friendly. Not saying others aren't, but some are very hard of hearing. Or they're here because their best friend is here and they want to spend that time with that person. Others, some come to build that friendship, others are doing it to fill their calendar. So really understanding what the people's needs are and reaching them and meeting them at those grounds has really helped with the success of the program, introducing them at events, encouraging them to attend a weekly program. So my lecture series, I might have 300 people there. You might sit next to somebody who's wonderful, but will you see them again? But coming into an exercise class or a weekly class, monthly class, like book clubs and movie and a meal, whatever it is, that's where you really build the relationships. And to me, the success of my program is when you start hanging out with people you've met there outside of the organization. That to me is the biggest success of all.
I feel like it can be a little bit like the high school lunchroom all over again.
It can be.
That idea. I mean, I talk with, when I have clients that I work with who move into a senior community, I mean, it's wonderful and it can be very welcoming, but it's scary. It's, once again, you're walking into a place where many people already know each other and you're the new person. And so the more that you can establish relationships is great. So what are some of the activities that you have seen people really embrace as they're adjusting to life as a single person, and the impact of forming those new friendships with those that have similar life stories, especially those who have possibly recently lost a spouse?
So again, sitting with people either on a motor coach, minibus, or those weekly things, that is where you really establish the connection, because you're sitting next to them for quite a long time, or you're in a room with a smaller group, perhaps 10 or 15 people, perhaps a little bit more. And that is where you make those connections just through conversation. Who do you know that is, there's always a connection, right? We know somebody in our background at some point. So encouraging those friendships, and it's really, I can do so much, but it's also up to that person to be working hard and taking advantage of those opportunities in which to build that community around you. We had a person through COVID really, really struggling. And I said, I know the people where you live in your condos. And so every Wednesday, it's like, bring your lunch. We're all 6 feet apart outside. And they still now, post-COVID, they still do it once a month instead of every Wednesday. But again, it's those friendships and that base that you can develop through most of those contacts were through Northview seniors. And of course, they invited other neighbors as well. But that's just an example of a jumping off spot that Northview seniors can provide.
Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and switch gears, and we're going to move to the thing that you are very passionate about, which is travel with We Travel. So tell us about what it is, when you started it, and what were you hoping to accomplish when you started it?
So 2 things. Number one, 10 years ago was when we started. I've been trip directing for 23 years. There was an organization in Detroit area called Nomads, which I was a part of 23 years ago. And when they did not make it through the recession is when my sister and I started our own business. So she used to fly for Pan Am and America West back in the day. I've been trip directing. Our Oma, our grandmother, was a travel agent back in the 70s in Grand Rapids. So travel is definitely in our blood. And our main reason for our business is to travel. We want to travel. We want to travel with you. We want to provide opportunities for others to travel that perhaps wouldn't be traveling otherwise, or perhaps we're one of the many ways that they travel too. So our main goal was to build a travel community, and I am so proud, like the community you have built here, so proud that we are accomplishing that. I want to give an example. A woman named Pat, she's actually from Jackson area, heard of us. We have a marketing method called WOMB, W-O-M-B, and it stands for Word of Mouth Baby. And we ask that our members tell other people about our organization, and that really has worked. So somehow Pat in Jackson heard about We Travel, and she went with us to Antarctica in January. She lost her husband a year ago, and this was a huge step. First of all, Antarctica is a huge step, right? That is not like you either go, oh my gosh, that's so cool, or you hear, what are you thinking? Why would you go there? So there's nothing in the middle about Antarctica. But she signed up for Antarctica, and she was nervous. This is a first trip without her husband. Antarctica is a big step, and she's going with people she doesn't know. So she came to some of our meetings. She signed up, and her roommate ended up having health issues right before and had to cancel. So now she's alone in her cabin, which I would love. Okay. She did not love. But because of our role on the trip, what we are is the glue of the group. We're building bridges. We're making sure people don't eat alone unless you want to eat alone. We're putting different people together with different activities and activity levels. And she had a blast. And she has signed up for multiple trips after that. It was a bit poignant. I mean, she was in tears a couple of times on the trip. First of all, that she's doing this. It was such a big step for her, but also missing her husband, saying we would have, our dream was to do this together. So she came to what we call a We Gather shortly after that, and now she knows several people in the room. Now she's sitting by people that she was on the trip with. She's sitting next to the person who she's going to Ireland with. So already, I just had to smile, and it warmed my heart to see her already getting connected and making those connections. And we do that by something called We Gather. So We Travel is our company. We Venture are our trips, but We Gather are travel-related topics. Sometimes they are talking about a trip. Tomorrow we're launching Costa Rica for January 2025. But other times we'll have somebody come in. Our last one was a tour manager from the UK talking about what her role is on a tour. And we have people coming in and just learning about that. We had somebody come in and talk about Dubai. I hope to get there someday. I haven't yet, but it was so interesting to learn about Dubai. So we're learning along with you. And these are people that just love travel. You can come to those meetings even if you don't want to travel with us. If you can't travel with us, if whatever it is, everyone is welcome at those because we feel that you will help spread the word to those who might be interested as well. And those We Gather situations help build that travel community. So we provide escorted group travel. So we are not the guide. When I went to Morocco, I've never been there before. There's a guide, an expert in the country, and we are the glue of the group. We are bringing up the rear. When the guide sees us, we know everybody's ahead of us. When in Iceland, somebody fell and needed stitches, I'm in the back of the ambulance with her. I'm with her, getting her settled in her room, making sure that she is okay. We are there to deal with airline issues, and if that's not a reason to come with me, I don't know what is, because it is a different world out there. So when during the polar vortex, was trying to get 44 people back from New Orleans during the polar vortex when everything was shut down, my people are having a coffee, a beer, or an ice cream, and I'm on the phone, and my sister's on the phone in Grand Rapids trying to get our group home. So those are the kinds of things that we offer. So we offer really people to sign up and show up. They trust us. They know we've done our homework on the itinerary and the companies we partner with. They want to travel with someone who's handling whatever issues arise. For some people, they've lost their confidence. Maybe their confidence because travel is different now than what it was before. Maybe who they traveled with is no longer there and they had confidence in that person. Maybe they've never had confidence. We've had a lot of people who have never been abroad or never left North America, and they travel with us as well. We have people who they want to travel solo. They want their own room, but they don't want to be alone. Some people want to travel solo, but they do want a roommate, and we help with that process as well. And like I said, our goal is to be there to make your trip the best possible, and that's how we really cater to those who are looking to travel.
Perfect. So I absolutely love to travel. In fact, Mark and I will be on a plane to Mexico at about 1:15 today. So if I run out and don't chat, you'll know why. But for years, it was a goal to travel. I always wanted to do it, but for the first 25 years of raising small children, we didn't have the time, we didn't have the budget, we didn't have the ability to do all that with kids. And so, I think that might be the case for a lot of people, that they want to travel, but they can't. And then as their life changes and they finally have a little more time and a little more money, then they seem to develop more of the health challenges. And often that involves the loss of their spouse or other longtime travel partners, like you were talking with the sisters. And so I think that the wealth of working with a travel agency, someone like Christine, we're so fortunate to have Eric Sattler in the room also as a educational partner. The idea that you can just show up and have these people work out all the details of wherever you want to go, to me, is absolutely priceless. So you've really kind of already talked about that idea of how people can just sign up and show up, and even if they have additional challenges with health on the trip, how you've handled that. Is there anything else that we've missed that you want to add?
Just two things. The finding a roommate, we don't say, oh, the two of you want to go, you don't know each other, we're going to put you in the same room. Okay, we don't do that. First of all, we put this decision on your shoulders. Okay, so if it doesn't work out, whose fault is it? It's yours and not ours. So what we do is we have something called a roommate compatibility form. We encourage you to meet in person if possible. That's not always possible, but at least by phone. And so you have a list of questions to go through. And you can say, oh, question 1, do you snore? Because it's hard to ask a complete stranger. Or do you have to have the TV on when you're going to sleep at night? Because I need total darkness. Do you shower in the morning or at night? Do you shower? So, I mean, these are important questions here, okay? So at the end of that meeting, then both have to contact us individually and say, yes, I want to. Or to say, nothing against that person, but I want to do the solo single supplement. So we have that piece that we can help put together people, and to say to that person, I want a room with someone because I don't want to pay the single supplement, but I do a lot of stuff on my own. I like to wander and I don't need to be attached at the hip. Those are all important questions to ask for finding a roommate. And then also with our pre-trip meetings, we always have a pre-trip meeting before every meeting, before every trip, and we go over all the details on currency. We're one point of contact. We go with you, either one of the two of us or both of us, depending on the trip. And it's really, we cater to a lot of singles because a lot of them are like, I can't find a friend who wants to go or who can afford to go or who has the mobility and health to go. That is key as well.
Awesome. I don't want to know about those situations where one person says, I'd love to room with them, and the other person doesn't.
It's a delicate conversation.
I'm sure. Okay, well, I think that wraps that up wonderfully.